The forgotten signal, the colony of Vera was silent under the night sky. Its towers of steel and glass once shone like beacons on the edge of human space. But now fires burned across the streets and black smoke rose toward the stars. The alien ships above had cut through every defense the colony owned. Shields had failed, weapons had gone silent, and whole districts lay in ruins. Children cried in the basements. Families huddled together, waiting for an end they could not fight against. The aliens came without warning. No one knew their name. They were fast, ruthless, and without mercy. Their machines moved like shadows, tearing through human walls and armor. Soldiers who had sworn to protect the colony had fallen one by one. In the control center, a handful of survivors worked frantically. Their faces were pale, their voices low with fear. The leader of the colony, Governor Elira, stood at the center of the room. She had ordered one last thing when the defenses failed: send an SOS. A call for help not just to nearby colonies, but across the stars. The message was simple. It carried no pride, no demand, only desperation. This is Vera. We are under attack. Our defenses are gone, please. If anyone hears us, we need help. The signal burned through space, leaping from satellite to satellite, stretching far beyond the borders of human trade routes. It carried into the dark, where no human ships had flown for centuries. The survivors did not believe anyone would come. The nearest fleet was weeks away. The aliens would not wait. But still, the signal was sent because hope was the only weapon they had left. Far away, past the colony's reach, deep in the cold of forgotten space, the signal found something. It touched a world where no humans lived anymore, a planet covered in dust and ruins. Beneath its broken surface, in vaults built by hands long dead, old machines listened. For centuries they had been silent. Their systems had slept under layers of stone and earth. Their codes were locked, waiting for a sound they were built to hear. That sound came now, the SOS of a human colony calling for help. In the dark vaults, red lights blinked to life. Power surged through ancient circuits. Massive forms began to stir, their shadows stretching across walls of steel. Dust fell as the ground trembled. The war machines of humanity, built in an age when survival was carved in fire, had heard the call. Each machine was a giant, taller than buildings, armed with weapons forgotten by modern armies. Their armor bore marks of battles fought long before the colonies were founded. They had been sealed away after the last Great War, when humanity decided such weapons were too dangerous to use again. But the builders had left one rule inside their cores: if humanity called for help, they would answer. One by one, their eyes of steel lit up. Engines growled like thunder. The vault doors, sealed for ages, split open. Sandstorms rushed in as the Titans stepped into the night. Their voices were not human, but the ground shook with their awakening. Back on Vera, Governor Elira stood at the main screen, watching enemy ships break through the last defense line. Her people had minutes left. She whispered to herself as if to no one at all. If only someone could hear us. Above the colony, alien ships moved closer, their weapons glowing with deadly light. The night sky seemed to close in, heavy with silence and fear. And then, far away, too far for the colonists to see, something stirred among the stars. The machines had begun their march. Old engines roared as they lifted from the ruined planet. Their hulls burned with re-entry fire as they cut through atmospheres and drifted into space. For centuries they had known only silence. Now they moved with purpose, guided by a call older than memory: protect humanity at all costs. The alien fleets did not yet know what was coming. To them, the SOS was nothing but a weak cry, soon to be silenced. But somewhere deep in space, titans of steel had heard it, and they were coming. On Vera, a child asked his mother, "Will anyone come for us?" The mother held him tight, her eyes wet with tears. She wanted to lie, but she could not. She only whispered, "I do not know." But in the dark void between stars, the answer was already moving closer. Humanity's forgotten war machines, silent for ages, had opened their eyes once more. The colony thought it was alone. The aliens thought they had already won. But soon, both would learn the truth. The signal had been heard, and something ancient was coming to answer it. The awakening of titans beneath the surface of the ruined planet. The vaults shook as old machines began to move. The silence of centuries was broken by the grinding of metal against stone. Inside those chambers, rows of giants stood waiting, each one taller than a fortress wall. Their frames were built of black alloy, their armor scarred by ancient wars. One by one, their systems came alive. Power cores rumbled like volcanoes. Red and gold lights burned in the sockets where their eyes should be. Symbols from a forgotten age flickered across their bodies, glowing faintly in the dark. Dust fell in heavy clouds as they took their first steps in thousands of years. They were not ordinary machines. These were Titans, guardians created in the era when humanity had almost been destroyed by enemies that no history book dared to name. They were too powerful to keep in service, too dangerous to let loose after peace had been won. So humanity's leaders had locked them away, deep under stone and earth, and left only one command inside their cores: awaken if humanity calls. Now, that call had come. The first Titan broke free of its cradle, the sound echoing like thunder across the vault. Its chest glowed with a heart of energy, brighter and brighter until it sent a beam of light up to the ceiling. Doors that had not opened in ages cracked apart. The vault trembled, rocks falling as the giants rose. Outside, the desert winds howled across the dead world. Then the ground split open and massive gates pushed upward. From the dust, the Titans climbed into the starlight. The planet had been forgotten by men, but not by the machines built to protect them. The first to emerge stood motionless, scanning the horizon with glowing eyes. Its voice was not sound but vibration, low and heavy, rolling across the sand. Humanity. In danger. The call has been heard. The Guardians will march. Others followed until the desert floor shook under the weight of their steps. Their shadows stretched for miles as they formed into ranks, just as they once had in wars long past. They did not need pilots. They carried their own minds, old and sharp, written with one purpose only: protect humanity at any cost. The SOS had burned into their cores, activating forgotten codes. Without hesitation, they began their march toward the stars. Their engines ignited. The air trembled. Dust and rock lifted in storms as they rose into the sky. Soon, dozens of Titans left the planet's surface, rising higher, faster, until the dead world lay far below. The void of space embraced them. Their thrusters glowed like suns as they formed a fleet. Their weapons hummed with power, waiting for the command to fire. They carried memories of ancient wars, their creator's fear, their creator's hope, and the duty that still bound them. Back on Vera, the colony burned. The aliens pressed their attack, moving closer to the main city. Soldiers fought with rifles that barely scratched the invaders' armor. Families hid under rubble, whispering prayers no one believed would be answered. The governor stood silent at her console, the SOS still echoing across her screens. She had not received any reply. But above the colony in the empty dark, the Titans were already on their way. The distance between the forgotten world and Vera was vast, but the Titans moved with speed that shocked even the stars. Whole systems flashed past them. They did not rest, did not question, did not slow. Every machine had locked its course on the colony's coordinates. Among them was the oldest of the giants, its armor thicker, its markings deeper. It carried the title Sentinel of Dawn, though no human alive remembered that name. Its voice carried through the minds of the other machines, steady and certain. The colony will fall within hours. We will arrive before the end. None shall harm humanity while we remain. The others answered, their voices echoing across the void like drums of war. They were not men, not living flesh, but something older, something made to fight without fear. Meanwhile, the aliens noticed the movement. Their long-range sensors picked up signals they had never seen before. At first they thought it was a trick, ghost readings from broken human satellites. But soon the truth became clear. Something massive was coming, and it was coming fast. The alien commander watched the reports in silence. His people had crushed many worlds, destroyed many armies. They had never known defeat. But the readings on his screen made him pause. The size, the energy output, the speed, it was like nothing his species had ever faced. "What is this?" he whispered. "What do the humans still hide?" On Vera, the governor felt the ground shake again as alien weapons struck the city's core. She closed her eyes, ready to face the end. And then, far above, the first Titan slipped from faster-than-light travel and entered orbit. Its massive frame blotted out the stars. Its eyes burned like suns, casting light across the night sky. The colonists lifted their heads. They did not know what it was or where it came from. But in their hearts they felt something they thought had been lost. Hope. The first guardian had arrived. The first strike. The sky above Vera burned with alien fire. Enemy ships circled like predators. their weapons tearing through the last human defenses. The colony's outer walls had fallen, and the invaders now pushed toward the heart of the city. Screams rose from the streets as civilians tried to flee. Soldiers fought desperately, but their rifles sparked uselessly against the aliens' armored hides. In the control center, Governor Elira gripped the railing so tightly her knuckles turned white. She had sent the SOS, but no reply had come. She told herself it was foolish to expect rescue. No one crossed the stars fast enough to reach them in time. The people of Vera were alone. Then the sky changed. A shadow passed over the city, vast and unnatural. For a moment, the stars disappeared. Every alien ship froze in formation as a shape larger than any vessel they had seen slid into orbit. It was not sleek like their warships, not fragile like human craft. It was a giant, metal, scarred, and glowing with ancient light. The first Titan had arrived. Its eyes burned gold, staring down at the world below. Plates of black alloy shifted across its frame as weapons unfolded from its arms and shoulders. Its presence alone was enough to silence the battlefield. Humans lifted their heads from the rubble, their tears forgotten. Even the aliens hesitated, their commanders uncertain. And then the Titan spoke. Its voice rolled like thunder across the colony, carried through the air by frequencies both human and alien could hear. Humanity called. We answer. The words were not shouted. They were simple, steady, and final. The ground shook as if the world itself listened. The aliens broke their silence first. Their ships moved in, weapons glowing bright. A swarm of fighters sped toward the Titan, engines screaming. They fired volleys of plasma, streaks of light slamming into its chest and shoulders. Dust and flame erupted, but when the smoke cleared, the Titan still stood. Its armor bore the scars of 1,000 wars, and no modern weapon could pierce it so easily. The Titan lifted one arm. A hum filled the air, rising higher and higher until it snapped into a roar. From its hand burst a beam of light so bright it blinded the sky. The nearest alien ship exploded in a storm of fire. Debris rained down on the battlefield as the Titan turned, striking another, then another. The colonists gasped as alien warships that had seemed unstoppable now shattered like glass before the giant. Hope, fragile and thin, sparked inside their hearts. But this was only the beginning. More Titans tore out of faster-than-light travel, each one larger than the last. They appeared like storms, their engines burning with fire, their weapons already hot. Soon dozens of them filled the orbit above Vera. Together they moved in formation, their shadows blotting out the night. The aliens panicked. Their commander barked orders, but fear cracked through his voice. He had never seen machines like these, never felt such power in the void. His fleet turned its full force on the newcomers. Plasma cannons, missiles, energy beams, all hurled toward the Titans in a desperate storm. The Guardians did not retreat. They advanced. Their shields flared with every strike, sparks flashing across their armor. But they pressed forward with the patience of mountains. Their weapons answered in kind, thunderous volleys that ripped through alien hulls. Each shot was a memory of the wars that had nearly ended humanity long ago. Each strike was a promise kept. Protect them at all costs. On the surface, colonists watched as fragments of alien ships fell like burning stars. Some cheered, some wept, some simply stared in silence. Soldiers raised their weapons again, courage flooding back into their veins. They had thought themselves abandoned, but now they saw giants fighting for them. One soldier whispered to another, "What are they?" The answer came not from his comrade, but from the Titan above, its voice shaking the earth. "We are the Guardians. We are humanity's war." The aliens regrouped, gathering their largest vessels for one brutal push. A dreadnought 3 times the size of the Titans moved into position, its cannons glowing with power enough to split a moon. It fired, and the beam struck the nearest Titan, knocking it backward through the atmosphere. The machine crashed into the ocean, waves rising for miles. For a moment the aliens roared with victory, but the ocean boiled. The Titan rose again, water cascading from its armor. Its eyes burned brighter than before, its weapons glowing like suns. With a single strike, it cut the dreadnought in half. The alien cheer turned to silence, then to fear. Governor Elira pressed a trembling hand to her lips. She did not understand what these machines were or why they had come, but she knew one thing. Humanity was not finished. Above the burning world, the Guardians continued their assault. Alien fleets that had seemed untouchable now burned, one ship after another. The Titans fought with relentless precision, never slowing, never stopping. never giving the enemy even a chance to breathe, and still, more Titans were coming. The first strike had begun, and the galaxy itself would remember it. The legacy of humanity. The battlefield above Vera was a graveyard of fire. Alien ships drifted in pieces, broken hulls burning as they fell into the atmosphere. The Titans stood like living mountains, their weapons cooling, their frames glowing faintly with the heat of war. But even as victory seemed close, questions spread among the colonists. Who were these giants? Why had they come now after being silent for so long? Governor Alira walked through the ruined command center, her boots crunching on shattered glass. Reports came in from soldiers and civilians alike, messages filled with awe, fear, and confusion. People wanted answers. Were the machines allies or something worse? In the rubble of the archives, Elira found something that shook her. A soldier handed her a datapad pulled from deep storage, its file corrupted but readable. The text was ancient, older than the colony itself. It spoke of the Guardians of Dawn, machines forged in the time of humanity's darkest wars, built when alien empires had almost wiped mankind from existence. The Guardians were made to be perfect soldiers, merciless, unbreakable, eternal. The last line of the file made Elira's heart tighten. They will never rest, only sleep. And when humanity cries out, they will wake again. She whispered the words to herself. They were not myths. They were not stories told to frighten children. The Guardians were real, and they had returned. In the city below, survivors stood in the streets watching the giants move in the sky. The Titans did not land, but their shadows stretched across the ruined buildings like the hands of gods. Some colonists dropped to their knees, treating them as saviors. Others whispered fears. If they were so powerful, what would stop them from turning against humans? Meanwhile, in orbit, the alien fleet gathered what was left of its strength. Their commander had lost half his ships, but his pride would not allow retreat. His species had conquered dozens of worlds. They had never bent to another race, never fled a battlefield. To flee now would be dishonor. He stood in the center of his warship, his eyes fixed on the Titans outside. If these machines are the humans' legacy, he hissed, then we will destroy their legacy. We will burn it to ash. The aliens began to charge their last weapons, their dreadnoughts aligned, forming a spear of power aimed at the largest Titan in the fleet, the Sentinel of Dawn. Energy pulsed, building brighter and brighter until even the colony below could see it glowing in the heavens. The Titans knew what was coming, but they did not retreat. Inside the minds of the Guardians, old memories stirred. They remembered their creators, the humans who had built them in desperation. They remembered the wars fought long ago, the blood and fire that had forged their purpose. They remembered the command that had never faded: protect humanity. The Sentinel of Dawn sent its voice across the battlefield, deep and steady. We are the memory of mankind. We are the steel of their will. We are the promise they left behind. Other Titans answered, their voices rising like a choir of thunder. The sound rolled across space and shook the hearts of both humans and aliens. Governor Alira stood outside the shelter, staring up at the sky, her eyes wide. She felt the weight of history pressing on her shoulders. These machines were not just weapons. They were the story of humanity itself, carried in steel and fire. Then the alien spear struck. The beam of power slammed into the Sentinel of Dawn, wrapping it in light so bright it blinded the colony below. For a moment it seemed as if the Titan would fall, as if the aliens had succeeded in breaking the unbreakable. But when the light faded, the giant still stood. Its armor glowed red, cracked and smoking, but its eyes burned brighter than ever. Slowly it lifted its arm, and from its core came a roar of energy so massive it tore through the alien formation like a storm of suns. The alien spear was broken, ships shattered in waves of fire. The commander's vessel cracked apart, his last words lost in the explosion. On the ground, cheers erupted. Soldiers raised their rifles, shouting with joy and disbelief. Civilians hugged each other in the streets, their fear replaced with hope. For the first time, they felt that humanity might not just survive, it might rise again. But amid the victory, a silence followed. The Titans did not leave. They hovered in the sky, watching, waiting. Their presence was heavy, unshakable. Governor Alira asked the question no one else dared speak. If they protect us, who commands them now? No human voice answered. Only the steady hum of the giant's weapons glowing softly in the night. And in the distance, beyond human sensors, shadows stirred in the void. The SOS had been heard not only by the Guardians, but by others. Greater enemies, ancient and patient, had also listened. The war was not over. It had only begun. The answer to the call, the night over Vera, glowed red with wreckage. Alien ships had been broken, their burning remains falling like meteors through the sky. The Titans hovered in silence, their weapons cooling, their giant frames still blocking the stars. Humanity's forgotten war machines had answered the call, and they had won. For a moment, the colony dared to breathe. Survivors crawled out of shelters, soldiers lowered their rifles, and children stared upward at the glowing giants with wide, unblinking eyes. It seemed as if the nightmare was over, but the Guardians did not return to sleep. They floated above the colony, unmoving, their lights burning steady. It was as if they were waiting for something. Governor Elira stood on the roof of the command center, staring at them. She did not feel only safety. She felt weight, the weight of power, of history, of something humanity had locked away for a reason. She whispered to herself, "Why do they remain awake?" No one could answer. The Titans had saved them, but their silence carried its own fear. Then the sky trembled again. From the edge of the system, a ripple spread through space. The colony's scanners lit with alarms. Something else was coming. Not the scattered remains of the alien fleet, but a new force, larger, stronger, darker. The aliens who had attacked Vera had not been the true enemy. They had only been scouts. And the true masters were now arriving. The colonists panicked. They had no defenses left. Their weapons were broken, their soldiers wounded, their walls shattered. The governor clenched her fists, knowing they could not survive a second assault. But the Titans moved. One by one, their eyes burned brighter. Their engines roared like storms. Their weapons glowed, humming with energy that shook the air. And then the Sentinel of Dawn, the oldest, largest of them all, sent its voice across the stars. The call is not finished. The war is not over. Humanity will not fall. The new enemy ships appeared, vast and terrible, their numbers filling the horizon. The sky turned black with their shapes. They had come to finish what the scouts had started. The Guardians surged forward. The first strike was thunder. Beams of light cut across the void, shattering enemy cruisers before they could fire. The Guardians moved like giants of fire, unrelenting, their volleys shaking space itself. The enemy answered, unleashing storms of plasma and missiles, but the Titans did not falter. Their shields flared, their armor cracked, yet they fought without pause. From the ground, the colonists watched in awe and terror. It was no longer a battle, it was a storm of gods. The Titans clashed with the invaders in a fury that lit the night sky brighter than day. Each strike echoed like a drumbeat, each explosion like the fall of a star. Governor Elira whispered as she watched, "This is not just defense. This is war written into their bones." Above, the Sentinel of Dawn carved through the largest enemy vessel, tearing its core apart with a blast that blinded the system. Its voice rolled through the minds of humans below. "We were made for this. We are the will of mankind carried in steel. We do not sleep again." The battle raged until the enemy finally broke. Ship after ship fell silent, their wreckage drifting into the dark. Those who survived fled, scattering into the void. The Titans did not chase them. They turned back toward Vera, their weapons dimming, their engines softening. The colony was safe. For now. But the Guardians did not land. They hovered in silence, watching, waiting. Their presence was no longer only comfort. It was also a reminder. Humanity was not alone in the galaxy, and darker wars were yet to come. The people of Vera gathered in the streets, looking to the giants as if searching for answers. Children pointed, soldiers saluted, elders wept, but the machine said nothing more. Governor Elira spoke to her people with steady words. "They are not myths. They are not legends. They are our legacy, and they have returned to fight for us." Yet in her heart, she wondered what price humanity would pay for their protection. Machines built only for war never truly rest. And if they remained awake, it meant the galaxy was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Above, the Sentinel of Dawn turned its gaze to the stars beyond. Its voice, softer now, rolled across the colony one final time. "The call has been answered, but more calls will come. Humanity must be ready." And then silence. The Titans drifted higher, forming into a fleet, their lights shining like a constellation of steel. They did not vanish into sleep. They remained awake, guardians reborn, watching the horizon for the next cry of their creators. On Vera, the survivors stood together, their fear replaced by something new: determination. If the machines had not forgotten humanity, then humanity must not forget itself. The war was not over. It was only beginning.